Mm. No. I should say the second. I think we're live. Here we go. I think we're live. Let me check with my other computer, obviously. And I think we're live at this point.
Cool.
Yeah, we're live. So, hey, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and start creating some watch party on my page. And if you want to do the same thing, how's everybody doing out there? Welcome to the Front Door Show with four fantastic friends, DJ Prieto. And we have right here, we have the infamous DJ Sombra, Marshall John. So, just to let everybody know, if this is your first time, some people first time, some people have been following. This is our fifth show. This is a creation that I created with one-on-one DJ interviews. Everybody's doing live stream, and I thought it would be very cool that we would talk to the DJs that everybody kind of knows, or maybe somebody don't know, and hear some history between me and him, me and them, and history about what's in the scene and so forth. So right now we have DJ Sombra, Marshall John.
What's up, brother?
So do me a favor.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself, who you are, what you are, everything that you could possibly say about,
Well, geez, you put me on the spot like that. Well, all right. Well, I mean, I'm basically a white boy in a Latino world here, but there's a couple of other guys that are out there doing the same thing. But my name is Marshall. I go by DJ Sombra. Yeah, a long time ago, I went with the very unique name of DJ Marshall. I really put a lot of thought into that one. But basically, Prieto, how many years have we known each other? We've known each other quite a while, at least since the late 90s, probably.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, I started as a bedroom DJ like a lot of other guys. Moved into some club scenarios, started doing some tapes back then, if you remember cassettes. Dating myself a little bit, but moved into CDs, and like when Spanish pop was big here in Chicago, that's really how I got to meet a couple of guys in the Cuatro Fantásticos crew, and get introduced into what ultimately became Club PM, Palladium at the time, and that's how I met Prieto. But just like everybody in Chicago, I grew up with the same influences that a lot of these guys did, listening to BMX, the same guys that are out, doing Facebook live streams as well on the weekend now. A lot of the legends like Julian Perez. I don't know, hopefully you guys had a chance to catch Bill's stream as well last week. But, as far as like, roots, for me has always been Chicago house, but being in a club, you kind of have to be a little bit more versatile. And ever since then, I've moved into the mobile market, and, I've been doing mobile for about 25 years at this point. And when you're doing mobile events, if you think you have to be versatile at a club, you need to be more versatile when you're mobile. So there's really nothing that, I don't necessarily play. There's a lot of things that I don't like, but there's, I'm not playing for me when you go and you hire me. So I'm playing for you. So basically that's, in a nutshell, that's where things are with me.
So, I mean, all right. So I remember that. So refresh my memory. Goodness, it's been a long time for all of us. How did we meet? I mean, who introduced us, or who was the person who? Because just to be clear, at Palladium, when I got Palladium, there were four guys originally.
Right.
That was DJ Viento, Tom, DJ Viento, Alex Perez, DJ Dracula, DJ Fantasma, Fernando, and me. It was us four. So hence we created Los Cuatro Fantásticos DJs. And then it morphed into other DJs that came in. And you were one of the other guys that happened immediately afterwards. And I think it was because, there was you, and there was some of the other guys. We'll go into those names and stuff like that. But so what was the first time you walked into a club or someone saying, hey, I want you to meet my friend Sombra?
Like I said, going back to the Spanish pop days, long story on that one, man. But basically, I was at a cotillion, and Alex Dracula was mixing, and I had gotten introduced to Spanish pop by Viva Promotions, the
Luis
now,
Ramirez and Leon.
yeah,
Right?
well, it was a DJ Dynamico mix that I used to
Okay.
play all the time, and I was like, man, this stuff is pretty cool. I've always been into like Euro and things like that.
By the way, we're going to be interviewing him too as well. So
Oh, awesome,
David,
man.
yeah.
It's
So
been a while
that's
since I seen or heard what he's up to. So anyway, I was at a quince and he was playing some of this stuff. And after the party, I was like, hey man, where do you get some of this music and how are you mixing it? Because that was like when the evolution of, CD players and things like that was coming around. Anyway, he was super, super cool, man. And he was like, this is where I get some of my tunes. And we ended up, staying in touch. Then I managed to get enough music of my own and put together a CD that I wanted to put out to print. And Alex introduced me to Tom, to Viento. And
okay.
Tom was doing like mixing, mastering, and putting stuff together at his house. So I basically took my mini disc 4-track over to his house. He dumped all the stems in one by one, and got to meet his gay dog at that time, and he had this little bird called Kiko that would just kick it down there with us. So in the basement, and basically I met Tom. He produced the CD, put a master together for me, and you guys had an open DJ night at Club. Well,
Yes.
it was still Palladium. It was
Yeah.
upstairs
Yep.
at that point.
Yep.
And he was like, "Hey man, why don't you come in for open DJ night? I'll introduce you to the guys and blah blah blah." And I took him up on the offer, man, and it was one of the bigger spots that I've ever played. So it was a little nerve-wracking to say the least. But you were so kind to give me the 3:30 a.m. slot
Oh, did
right
I?
after Fernando. And Fernando, the funny story with that guy is like, he had, I don't know if he had heard some of the stuff that I'd played, but we had a very similar style in terms of like music selection and BPM and things like that. So his set needed to get cut a little bit short so I could get in. And I always razz him to this day. Like he must have looked at me like, you fucker, you're cutting my set short. So he ended up mixing out with like a radio cut of a Millennia song that had like no break. It was a radio version,
DJs
Like,
with
all right, dude, it's gonna be like that, right? We'll pick it up and we'll do it. And that's how I got to meet you guys, and ultimately, keep coming around, and I became part of the team.
All right, just to be clarified, that in case people don't know, Palladium Club PM is originally Tropicana de Cachet. That's
Right.
what it was called before that. And Tropicana de Cachet was pretty well known as far as tropical. And then upstairs at the very top, it was a room that hold like 3,000 people. If I think that was the number. And obviously it became V Live, and now it's called,
Right.
I forgot what it's called now. So, I mean, but we had our roots there when we did it. And one of the things that I think I was the first one to do the open DJ night, where I would have a bunch of guys. And I think that's where I got a lot of guys that came in to working with us, because there was some undiscovered talent when it came to DJs. And honestly, and I know nothing against Alex, Viento, Tom, and nothing against Fernando, because they were really, really good guys. But there's always somebody that's going to show like, wow, man, that's surprising. And I remember there was this one guy, I think it was a cousin, who brought the stack of records, remember? And he was like mixing, like quick mixing. And we didn't even know quick mixing. But he stacked like 4 records at a time, and he played, popped it up, played, popped it up. And I think he was doing alternative or dance music. And we were like, oh my God, I never seen that before. But I mean, so yeah, that's what I'm saying for you. That's why I picked up some guys. I think I picked up Eclipse that way, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Eclipse came on. I think you had the Bravo brothers.
Right, exactly.
On and off as well. I think Gabriel Rodriguez came in off of a guest DJ night too.
Yep, exactly.
He was on the team for a while. So yeah, and Fuego, that was another guy that was coming in, and he was working a lot of the satellite venues after we started to branch out. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of talent in Chicago, as you know. Anybody watching this has probably been to some of the smaller clubs that don't really have a lot of recognition, and heard some great guys. I mean, it's, I'm not going to say it's easy now to be a DJ, but it's definitely a lot easier than, likely when you and I started. Cost of entry is really, really dropped through the floor as well. Getting MP3s and, getting a controller set up to get out there and do your things, do your setup is really easy. But well, I don't want to say really easy. It's easier than when we started,
Correct.
back in the 80s and stuff like that, where it was a huge investment to get your decks. You're visiting imports or gramophones and spending your salary, your your in my case, my allowance right there, I would come out with like $50 and maybe like 2 imports of something. And it's like, oh man, I'm going to have to play the whole damn thing on this, get my money's worth out of it.
That was so true.
Yeah. I mean, it was so different than what it is now,
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that. I mean, there's quite a few people online right now, and I just wanted to say shouts out to Jesse and then Jose, some of the guys, man. Daryl, what's going on? And then I think Viento and I know Telly was good, had shared it and liked it and stuff like that. So I'll shout out to you guys and all that. So one of the things I'm curious about, and I guess you were originally a house DJ, right? You were a vinyl DJ as well.
Yes.
And you went into the pop aspect, the Spanish pop aspect, but that wasn't all on vinyl. So what was that consist of, the pop music?
That was me cutting my teeth on crappy Newmark CD players that never really had an instant start. That's what that was. trying to dig for tracks at the weirdest of spots on 26th Street, because when that was really popular in Chicago, there was only a handful of dudes. And when I say handful, I mean like 2, to my knowledge, that really, really were plugged in with getting tunes. So one of those guys was always Rocco Mix, Roberto. He always had his pulse on stuff. And Fernando Garza, he always had a.
Oh yeah! Oh my God! I forgot about Fernando. I haven't seen Fernando.
Yeah, DJ Nando or
DJ Nando,
Ron Solera.
Yeah, all these guys.
Yeah, I mean, they would play some stuff that was like, wow, where do you get this stuff? And they were, having hookups and connects in Mexico and whatnot, bringing.
Well, in saying that, that's one of the things and there was a following of that. I remember. Big following, because Volume Entertainment, Frank Monroy had that big following. Rock Pop Alternativo. That if you heard me talk about that, that was her. And I remember when I started Palladium, and ironically, how I got Palladium is I was already working with Ruben Pasmino doing Tuesday Night Boxing at Tropicana and doing the salsa and merengue stuff. I remember we had just opened up, I think it was Infinity, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was over on Clybourne and by Armitage.
Wasn't that the Andromeda?
Andromeda, right,
Andromeda,
exactly. Yeah,
the one that burned down.
And I remember, I think we did one show there, and it flopped because we were across the street from Convent. It was, but it didn't work out because we were like, oh, you know what? But Convent was a 21 and over club, and I remember when we decided to do and it was a conversation that came out to me, and Rocco Mix had Palladium at the time. And I guess because I had a following, Yvonne and Henry, who was owner of Tropicana, they had upstairs, and Yvonne came up to me and said, and I just came out on mixtapes and CDs. So remember, I had my 5 volumes of my mixtapes. And because of the following I had, he says, hey, can you do Palladium? And Rocco Mix, nothing to take away from Rocco Mix. Rocco Mix was an incredible DJ. I remember DJ Diablo used to DJ upstairs as well. Yeah. It was really, 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 I love the scene. In fact, this true story is that the first time I ever went to a Spanish rock concert, I went to a Maná concert. And I was like, and I wasn't into any, hey, David, how you doing? I wasn't into Spanish rock at all. But for me, it was like, oh my God, look at the women. And that was like, oh my God, I think I like Spanish rock. Oh my God. And Spanish rock and Spanish pop.
Motive there, right?
So obviously, so I was like, oh, okay. I think I like Spanish rock. And then when I talked to the guys, and I remember that was the conversation, Alex, and it was just, It was just Alex because of the fact that he had the Mexican community per se. Bandas norteñas, he would do all the cumbias and stuff like that. He had made a couple mixtapes and CDs as well. And then Fantasma.
Good stuff with Maximo Entertainment.
Right, exactly. Oh my God, you brought up some names I almost forgot about as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's good times, you know. And Maximo Entertainment were DJ crews per se, and they were kind of like these sub promoters that did different clubs. There was another one down the street there that Dinamico used to do as well. It was with that
Tequilas, wasn't it?
Yes, Tequilas as well, and then Eclipse. DJ Eclipse had Danny had the one that was even further down. If you remember the one on Milwaukee in Central Park, it was the one on the second floor. I forgot what it was called. If somebody,
you're not talking about Orbit, are you?
Yes, Orbit as well. So that was, you know what I'm saying? So all these guys were playing, you know, but we had a big room. And so that was my whole thing. I says, man, how am I going to fill it? Because I think Robert used to do maybe like 300, 400 people. It wasn't as big as when we took it over. And I remember that was the creation of Cuatro Fantásticos. And Los Cuatro Fantásticos, I remember it was the growth. And the reason why it grew is because we didn't focus, and I purposely did this. I did not want to be a volume entertainment. I didn't want to do rock pop alternativo. I wanted to do something that was multicultural, because we play disco as well. We play house music. Fantasma would play, you know,
we would play everything like 90s progressive. It was, it was everything.
Yes. And it would, and we watched the crowd morph into like, and just it was funny because I remember that Palladium used to have a banda night as well. But we used to get these banda people coming in there with the cowboy hats and stuff like that. But then they would be like, "Oh my God!" And then they would show up with the hats and the boots, and then the following week they would show up with their rock outfits and stuff like that.
They would take their cowboy shirt and they would be ready to rock out. You know, they'd have their Mana or 3 shirt on or something.
Yes. And we used to do, and that was the cool thing. We used to do themes. I remember the 3 event was kind of a memorable event. We used to do all these kind of themes and stuff like that. And I think we used to do 1,800 people to 2,500 people there every Friday and Saturday. And then Fridays we kind of morphed into another aspect, and I'll be talking to DJ Elite about that one. But you know. But going back to you, is that one of the things that I was very impressed about is that you had a different tone when it came to just the Spanish pop aspect of it. And I would watch you just play, you know, like Fantasma and you had a different, just a different feeling and stuff like that. Because then there was times that you were doing your own remixes as well. So I was like, oh my God, you know, the guy's doing his own remixes. And I remember you did a couple, like, I think you did a Taps remix as well. You did some other stuff. And we were all like, oh my God, this is different, because Fantasma didn't do any production per se, but he was, you know, phenomenal DJ. But you went into more the production aspect of it, the remix aspect.
Yeah, I've always been more drawn to that. You know, being I grew up around computers. I really, you take music and computers, and then it's naturally you want to get into like producing and how do they make that? Because really, it's like before I even started buying records, before I even started, you know, wanting to be a DJ, when I would listen to the guys on the radio, when I listened to the guys on BMX, and sometimes like many people, I would fall asleep, you know, with the cassette recording, you know. And wake up all excited the next day, ready to pop it in the ride, you know, and be like, oh, what did they do? What's out there, right? But then a lot of the mixes started, they used to do reel-to-reel edits on them. And me, from my perspective, I'm like, all right, cool, this is what you could do with 2 decks. But then I would hear guys doing mega mix stuff, or maybe dropping beats on top of, you know, under 2 records or acapellas and then mixing it. I'm like, man, there's no way they could be doing that with two turntables. So that just furthered me to figure out how the hell are they doing that. And then it just, you know, once you go down that path, if you're passionate about it, and, you know, I've always been passionate about music, regardless of, you know, if it's going to make me money or not. There's a lot of guys that are in the game because it's, you know, they're just trying to get paid, you know. But you know, even I just turned 46 in March. I started getting into this, like buying records, getting my decks when I was 11 years old.
Wow.
So I've been around this for a long time, you know. Granted, like I said, I've been passionate about it, and maybe I should have followed it like as a a career, but it's been good to me this far. It's been good to me. It's there as a therapy when I need it. It's there for to fill in a little bit of the finances here and there, or to buy to finance the studio itself. If I want to get some new toys, or you're never done buying gear when you're a DJ. A lot of you guys
Well, yeah,
probably know that.
I was just noticing that because behind you, I can see you have a studio. So you have actually recording studio, or what kind of
I
studio is
do,
it?
yeah, I do. I just I don't do a lot of stuff on Facebook Live because I'm the copyright stuff, and it's the place to do it because I mean there's other sites to do it, but the problem with that is to get people to that site, and it's always been that
I
issue.
know, I know, I know.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in marketing as my day job, marketing and advertising, and trying to get people to migrate to other websites, especially when you're in the Facebook framework. They don't like to let people go out of it. So
Right.
unfortunately, the audience is in Facebook right now, but the copyright stuff has just always been something that's turned me off about it. Plus, one of the things one of the reasons I always laugh about the guys with is I don't get into video mixing because my OCD really kicks in. So it's like I'm the type of person that I will listen to the same little edit 1,500 times before I'm like, cool, it's perfect. Now, if I was in the video, it would be even worse. My family would never see me because I would just be
Oh,
copying stuff
dude,
up.
dude,
Same,
like,
same thing, man. If you're going live, there's guys that have like 5, 6 different camera setups. It's visual as well as audible. So you could really see what they're doing. Some guys are like running little videos in the corner. You could see their Serato screens or whatnot.
right.
So I don't even want to go down that route because for me personally, it would be a freaking rabbit hole.
Yeah, I mean, that, and I guess that's what with Facebook Live, when I first started this, and obviously, let's be realistic about this. When I first started this, I told everybody, this is not what I do. I don't do Facebook Live. I've never done Facebook Live and stuff like that. One of the cool things that that's different from other promoters out there, and if you know me, that I've always been focused on email marketing as opposed to Facebook marketing. And
Right.
Facebook marketing for me has always been very saturated. And it's just like, so I've always been, and thank God that I have the following I have on email marketing stuff as well. So when this all happened, and it kind of forced us to do this per se, I decided to do the as I told you, from 12 to 1 o'clock, because I didn't want to compete with anybody. I'm always the type of guy. But then when I decided to do this DJ one-on-one interview, and I was talking to DJ CZR today, and that's another guy that we're going to be interviewing. We're just talking about it, how I've always been the type of guy that wants to make sure that they open the doors for a lot of people, but not like you guys need it or anything like that. But
Sure.
a lot of people see us DJing, right? Behind the computer, behind the turntables. But like, I don't think me and you have had a conversation for an hour talking about anything. How did we meet? What happened? This is the first time I'm hearing about anything that happened to you. And I want people to know that about you as well,
Sure. Yeah.
because there's history between
Right.
everything that's going on. So, I mean, obviously, we talked a little earlier. You say you're healthy, your family's healthy, you got a big family.
That I do. Yeah. 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 We've got triplets in our house that are 6 years old and a 4-year-old too. So I guess we didn't really learn our lesson, with the 3. What is that saying? Like we're gluttons for punishment, I suppose.
So what I was going to say, so what is your feeling that's going to happen next with all this COVID, right? Of course, I'm asking the common question because it's a real issue, or should I say it's a real.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think?
For sure.
Because one of the guys had mentioned about they think mobile is going to actually get stronger as opposed to nightclubs. You have a huge mobile. I mean, my God, if you really want to see a mobile production. Sombra has it.
I mean, there's a lot of companies in Chicago that run mobile. I mean, we're not the largest, but I think because I don't do any advertising with my mobile business. Most of our
your partner's online, by the way. Your partner.
he could tell you too. Bert Wonderstone, Mr.
Yeah.
Mr. Hector. I mean, all of our business, man, is referral. We're all word of mouth. So Once we kind of get ingrained in some of these families, we're doing the daughter's quinceañera, we're doing her wedding, we're doing her baptism, we're doing first birthday party of the same family. You know, we generations of clientele essentially. So, I mean, that's kind of been our thing. You know, if we're going to talk about the mobile aspect, there's a lot of guys that do mobile in Chicago, and mobile is lucrative if you know what you're doing. You know, there's a lot of guys that do it, and you know, they're more the fly by night guys. And I'm not putting anybody's hustle down. Everybody, you know, there's enough business for everyone.
Right.
You know, for the people that are watching, I started the Chicago DJ Union Facebook page, and we've got about 1,100 local Chicago DJs on there that talk about very similar topics all the time. You know, and it's interesting because that page kind of sprouted from the fact that a couple of years ago, somebody had posted on Facebook a Craigslist ad for Northside Club. And it was a reputable Northside club, but they were looking for a DJ and they weren't looking to pay anything. They were just trading exposure.
Oh.
And we've all heard that, you know, the drink tickets and all of that kind of stuff, but you know, they caught me on the wrong day. And I was like, you know what, screw this. There's no resource really for local Chicago guys to get together and just, you know what, put places like that on blast. You know, essentially, or if you got promoters that are, you know, snaky, not paying you or bringing you in, offering you this, but at the end of the night, hey, you know what? We didn't make door.
That's what Kiss was talking about, right? That. Yep.
They get a bucket of beer, so we're cool, right? You know, I'm like, hey, let me put something together so I could get a network of guys together that are all working, that are, whether it's mobile or club based, and get together and shoot the shit. You know, the DJ scene in Chicago, as you know, has always been very fragmented. Unlike other cities or other parts of the world, I mean, there's a lot of DJs that are, you know, that community, they're tight, you know, they back each other up. Chicago's always been a little, you know, cutthroat, and that's kind of it's not always been like that, but, you know, in my time doing this, it's been a consistent theme. And it's not necessarily like in the Latino market or the club or mobile market. It's just, that's the ebb and flow, I think, of what the city is at this point. So for me, I mean, it kind of pushed me to be better in a way, because you could break away from that negativity and just do your own thing. If you cut your own path, who cares what everybody else is doing, you know, at that point?
Well, I'm a perfect example of that.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Find a niche and go for it, you know, but I put this DJ Union page together basically as a location for people to use as a sound.
Is that on Facebook, DJ Union?
It's ChicagoDJUnion.com.
Okay.
The Chicago DJ Union Facebook group, just find it. We're very particular. We actually just want DJs that are, you know, working in the field. So there are some questions you need to get in there, but so we curate the group pretty tightly.
Okay.
But even though that page kind of started out of spite, like, you know what, let's get a bunch of guys together and talk shit about these people or these clubs, these venues, these promoters, to make some of the newbies that are coming up aware of how you could get taken advantage of. Even though the page kind of sprouted from that, it became a resource ultimately for people just sharing information, for people, DJs coming on the scene looking for, you know, advice as to what should I buy. I'm thinking about going mobile. I'm a club DJ. How do I do it? You know, and back and forth. And I think the page has got, you know, some great energy around it. We've got a lot of contributors on there that are constantly putting things in. So as far as like your original question, I know we went way off base right there, but where do I see things going after this pandemic thing, or the
COVID,
the stay home orders kind of lift?
Right.
You know, my best guess is people are going to go nuts. So it's going to be going to be like the weekend before they shut it down, the St. Patty's Day weekend, where the clubs were just like this, you know, because they knew Monday was going to be a lockdown scenario. People are going to want to come out. They're going to want to celebrate. So the clubs are going to be booked. The mobile events, like we've had 3 mobile events get canceled this month so far. And it's just the nature of the beast, right? I mean, we don't necessarily know. And if you're watching the news, it's like they say one thing one day, they say another thing another day, but you know, it seems like the news is constantly changing as they're finding out more information about what's going on. So you know, that being said, I don't think we're just gonna be chilling in our basements for, you know, the rest of the year. Um, you know, I don't want to get into the political discussion or even the economic discussion about it, but just on a human side, you can't keep people, you know, locked in their house all the time. You know,
Right, right. That's where I think
people are going to want to
that's
party.
right, right. That's where I
Or
think
just watch some sleep.
I think that's where everybody's you know,
Yeah,
if it's a catch 22,
it is.
between what we do, what the scene is, what Chicago is. It's a really catch 22. Um, in going back to what you said about the Chicago DJ Union, I have a plan, which I was talking to CZR about it, and I'll let some more what you call it, but I think you're right about the scene as far as DJs kind of doing what they do with each other. I think I've done different in that sense because I've been, I I don't feel like this is a big world in this. I mean, this city has enough for everybody,
Yeah.
and I'm always willing to work with everybody. And I think what if this turns out right, what I think I'm going to plan, and more, this is as I'm doing this DJ one-on-one, it's opening my eyes to a lot of opportunities that I think this could work for everybody across the board. And I think this is going to. Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing? A lot of people joining in, so I'm so happy for that.
Hey,
But
Walt,
this is going to be. I think this is going to be a catalyst for something else bigger that I'm doing right now,
yeah,
and just getting the other DJs and seeing DJs. You know, this is almost put everybody on the same level. Everybody's right now on the same level. They can't. There's no one. Even the guys who are well known. Guess what? They're doing what they got to do online. We're all doing what we're doing online at this point and stuff like that.
right.
There's nobody gigging right now. There's nobody,
No,
making.
we're all idling at this point. You know, we're
Right.
waiting. You know, it's the same thing. We're like the horses at the starting gate. You know, just ready to launch. You know.
But if we can set up something where everybody is going at the same pace, then everybody wins. Both customers as well as DJs and producers and musicians and music people and stuff like that, and all across the board. Because I think you're right. It's a perfect example about the horses on the waiting gate and stuff like that. So we're all ready to go, and here comes the shot in the air, and then we're ready to go.
Yeah.
Where in your career, your luxurious career since you were 11 years old, what would you consider like a highlight of your career? What would be like, oh, okay, you know what? This happened to me. This is what I could honestly say is like the wow factor in your career.
Man, I don't know if I could point out like just one particular instance because a handful of memories that come to mind, they were all things I never thought would happen. Really, you know.
Okay, yeah.
Because it took me a long time, first of all, to learn how to DJ and to develop an ear for it. Because a lot of these guys that I talk to now, they hang around with other DJs, you know. So there's at least one guy in the group that knows how to mix, and he shows the other guys how to count beats or how to match tempos or phrasing and stuff like that. I grew up on the north side, man, and it's like I
Oh,
grew
I
up.
didn't know that.
Yeah, I grew up on a like Armitage and Kenneth was actually.
Oh, wow. For some reason I always thought you were a Southside DJ. I mean, like you know, I mean that
Yeah.
because you lived way south. I
I
remember
did.
that.
Yeah, well, I moved to Little Village when I was in sixth grade, but um,
Okay.
that's kind of when right around the seventh and eighth grade time frame for me is when I started getting into it. But I always had an interest in it, and when I lived on the north side, there were movies like Beat Street, Break In. Those are things that I was into, and I mean, obviously, I was into the dancing stuff too, right? Just a little ashamed to admit that
I
I had
wait,
the
wait, wait.
the
Are
suit,
you
right?
telling me you were a breaker when I was breaking?
Hey, dude, in my backyard, I was the best breaker, man. I had my red Pumas with the fat laces. I look ridiculous to my parents, but whatever, man. They didn't know what was cool back then, right? Just like my kids probably say about me now. But yeah, I mean, the culture that was around me at that time didn't really allow me to kind of break out and get into DJing the way I wanted to, because like all my little buddies, they were all into like BMXing and stuff like that. You know, they weren't into like,
Okay.
you know, turntables and stuff. So it wasn't like until I moved to the South Side in 6th grade, I moved to Little Village, and actually we had to, there was an issue with the housing that my parents were getting into. So they lost the property, and we ended up having to rent for a few years. But the dude that lived downstairs actually had a turntable set in his basement. So I was this little,
Nice.
you know, 12-year-old kid coming in and watching this guy sneaking around in the basement, because he was a teenage guy with, you know, the white Caprice with the spokes, hanging out with his boys. He would go down and they would be down in the basement drinking, and you'd be cutting records and stuff. You know, this 12-year-old kid going down there, he's going to be like, you know, who the hell are you? You get out of here, you know? But that being said, when I finally got enough money together, I was able to, you know, actually start buying records. And funny thing with that is, when for those who remember Hot Jams on Archer and Pulaski, Andre,
That's done. Yeah. Yeah.
I went to grammar school with his older sister. So it's like I would get my little
Oh.
$20-$30 allowance. And this is way before he even opened the store. This is like when even before Division Street Flea Market, he used to sell records out of his garage. So I would give his sister like my 20 or 30 bucks on a Friday, and she would come to school on Monday with a little stack of vinyl, you know, and I didn't know what was good. I was trusting Andre to, you know, hook me up with what was hot. So I still think I got a copy of Jaina Hold These Nuts somewhere around here that was a massive dud, but he would just send me whatever, you know, that was on tracks, and he'd be like, oh, it's the good labels. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. You know, I didn't know any better, but that's kind of like, in terms of like where my background is, growing up on the South Side, that's really where, you know, I started doing house parties, like most of us did, you know, before you could get the club gigs. But a lot of my memories, one of the biggest ones was WCYC. They had an on-air competition for a open slot on the Dominating Six, and Gino.
Oh, that was. Speaking of Gino, Gino's online right now. Gino Rock and
Yeah.
Roll. He's on.
Gino was there. Gino was a judge. We're mixing on Gino's decks, as a matter of fact, and one of them had like a funky tone arm that if you back cued too much, it would just like skip all over the record. So as if, you know, mixing live on air, a battle with, you know, 5 or 6 guys wasn't, you know, enough to make you nervous. Now you got this rigged deck. Thanks for that, Gene, by the way. So, you know, I got on there, and, you know, I did my set. I didn't have any technical issues and stuff like that. I kind of went away like feeling like I could do better, but I ended up getting on the team along with Gabriel Rick and Rodriguez. And
Nice.
I don't remember if there was like 6 to 8 guys there, but we were the only 2 that made the cut. And after then, you know, I was on CYC for a while. But again, that friggin' OCD thing with me only led me to be on the radio station maybe 4 to 5 months, because it was taking me 4 hours sometimes to put together a 30-minute mix. So had I known about multi-tracking way back then, I would have been, you know, I probably would have still stood on the radio, but it was really hurting my school. And, you know, I was playing football.
Was Harv Roman part of that? When
Harv was on there.
Okay, I got
BG she was an on-air personality.
right.
Geez, there's a couple of other guys that, it's been so long that the cobwebs. That was an awesome moment for me personally, you know, getting picked, getting recognized on air. And I was, you know, way underage at that point. And there was a time that they had a concert at Anything Box was playing at, not at Convent, at, what was the old club back then? Gino, if you're online, man, put it.
What street was that?
Alcatraz, my bad. Alcatraz.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Al Cisneros' place. Okay.
Yes. Alcatraz.
Okay.
Anything Box was there, and CYC was, you know, hosting the party. And even though I was underage, they got me in to do a set, and I was like, this is freaking huge, you know. I got in to do a set. Obviously, I had to get the hell out when I was done because, you know, I wasn't 21, but that was a huge moment for me. I remember like walking up to the decks and dropping the needle on my first record, and I was scared shitless, man. I'm like, oh God, you know, because back then it wasn't like, all right, cool, I'm going to practice set You know, it was like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to read the crowd, because I always thought that that's how it was and that's how it should be. And I still approach my sets that way. So I was like, oh, you know, I was nervous. Like, are my tunes gonna resonate with the crowd here? You know? So, I mean, that was, those are two great moments for me. And then, you know, obviously, moving into the mobile, that's probably been the, you know, one of the bigger points for me. But also, you know, I don't want to forget you bringing me on to the team. Kind of, you know, I had an opportunity to meet a lot of great guys in the industry, network with a lot of people, you know, mix side by side, you know, with a lot of great names in the city, and mixing a lot of great venues. I mean, we did like you said,
Gino said Alcatraz. That's what it
yeah,
was.
Alcatraz. Well,
He
that
compared
was way before you. That was way before you. But like, we did Green Dolphin. We did, you know, Andromedas for a little while. We opened Volcan on 25th and Kedzie right there. Remember that?
Yep.
That was a long time ago. Hell, I remember we even did China Club for a little while too. Way
Nice.
back when. So that was like a weekday or something that we were doing China Club.
Well, just to make sure people understood the progress of what happened is that when we did Club PM was closing for whatever reasons they were closing, and I think it was becoming under new ownership or something like that. And I remember that's when Ivan Fernandez says, "Okay, well, you know, we're going to open up the old Mario ballroom. That was Mario's ballroom on 25th and Kedzie." And I remember when he he brought me into it, and that's when I had everybody working. If you remember, there was 3 guys on the main floor. There was Orlando, you know, Fuego, and the guys that downstairs doing the Spanish rock. And then I remember I had like 4 guys upstairs doing the reggaeton. We're doing the reggaeton room and stuff. It was 3 rooms. And it was always, I've always been that kind of guy that said, okay, you know what, I want to do multi-rooms. And I think the multi-rooms is something that that's always worked for giving back to the people what they were,
the client,
you know, for the client, and it worked out. And I remember at one point, even at 720, when we were doing 720, if you remember, it was almost like 4 DJs per, you know, I got Cheeseball. I'm interviewing Cheeseball as well, so he'll confirm all that as well. And I remember that when the aspect of Volcan, you know, and how many people we did, you know, in 2005, I think when I brought Pitbull, we had 2,600 people there. For, you know, that was unheard of in the nightclub and stuff like that. And here, and 0 fights. That was the best part about it. And I think that also helped in the scene, because I had like one of my customers tell me, older lady, she told me, Susan Casil, she told me, she goes, you know what? We really love your parties because we know we're always safe. You bring a quality group of people.
Yeah, that's important.
And it's important because, you know, let's be honest with you, in the scene, there's a lot of people who've done events and it gets really raunchy. And, you know, and I guess that's where I've always looked at it. I says, you know what, that's not what I want to do. I want to make sure that my clientele is safe, my employees are safe, everybody's safe. It's like that. I've always been that kind of like, that look at it. So, but also I'm going to hire guys that are going to play some kick-ass music as well. So that's why, you know, you were a big part of it and stuff like that. Did you ever play at 720? I'm trying to remember if you.
Yeah, that was the last venue I played with you guys as a team. And after that, I think things kind of stalled for a while, and you picked some things back up and went to another location. But by that time I had fully, you know, invested in going mobile. 720 was a beautiful venue. I really loved going over there. I hated trying to find parking, but 720 was always awesome. You know, every time I would get a break from my room, I would go down and check out Rick Garcia. He was always on point. You know, he was.
Oh, dude, Rick. I mean, oh my God.
Rick was fucking awesome. But I gotta admit, man, 720 was not my favorite place to work, because that was really, for me, it was eye opening in the sense that we're in a proper downtown club at that point. Now we're not necessarily playing music that we want or that we think the masses want to hear. At least on my floor, it was always about playing what, you know, the bar managers wanted to keep people in there. So I had to change my mentality big time, you know, because it was always Marroquin was running the floor I was on, Edgar. And he was like, hey, man, the floor's thinning out a little bit, dude. Play Gasolina. I'm like, Dude, you just played that like 30
Yes.
minutes ago, you know? So at that point, it's not like I had to back up a little bit as like, all right, not so much that I was a prima donna or like an artist, right? I'm a DJ.
Yeah, right.
But like, you know what? I'm just a jukebox up here at that point. And it was like, all right, cool. If we're just playing, to keep the bar going, I get it. But after coming from PM where we played, I mean, you gave us open reign to play
Yeah,
with.
yes. I gave you.
And after years and years of doing that and, rocking the floor with either, personal remixes or shit that I would find like dug deep someplace that would make the place go nuts. Now I'm, playing the same 3 or 4 songs on rotation every hour. That kind of left a bad taste in my mouth, and it just didn't sit well with me in terms of like who I want to be as a DJ. So I just decided to take a break from that, and focus more on the mobile. And it seems ironic because when you're in mobile, a lot of the times you're playing the same shit anyway at somebody. It's just a different party, right?
Right.
But
Right.
I don't know. It was a little bit of a wake up call for me. But at least mobile pays better when you look at it like that. But
Oh no, no, and that's what I was gonna say. So the money talks. I mean, let's be honest with you. Hey,
well, I
I
mean,
just want to say a
we're
lot of
good
the
for free.
old guys from 720, they're online as well. As well.
Yeah.
Gonzo.
Oh
So
man, I haven't seen those guys in forever.
I know, I
Yeah.
know. But you know what? I communicate with them. I think we all kind of communicate with each other on Facebook, and that's cool and stuff like that. I mean, guys, if you're just tuning in, this is DJ Sombra, Marshall John. We're doing the one-on-one interview. This is the front door show. I just wanted, but what is cool about this, because I think this is important. What I'm doing right now with you and everybody else that I did in the past and what I'm going to do in the future. I think this is something that there's a lot of information. Like last night, we're talking to John Guzman. So he was talking about the blanket, the blanket license and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I get a couple phone calls and say, "Hey, man, what is that?" And obviously, they reach out to me, and I say, "Hey, just reach out to John and stuff like that." And again, people who may not know that, that about the mobile aspect of it, if this is the direction and stuff like that, the DJ Union page as well. I think that's important that we guys, we just let people know. What do you think? Okay, and since you mentioned Gasolina, where do you think is the direction with reggaeton? Because that's the biggest thing on radio right now is reggaeton.
So
what do you
I love it, man. It's gotten to a point where the songs that are coming out like at this point in time, they're reminiscent to me of when we used to play it big time at the club. There was a point there where after we left the club, it just started getting really like very hip hoppy. It didn't have a lot of rhythm, and I didn't care for it.
Or too much of the same rhythm.
I mean, obviously, right? The drum patterns are mostly the same in there, but it's just what you float on top of it that makes it cool. But like we're all the the Bad Bunny stuff that's coming out now. Some people love them, some people hate them, but J Balvin, all of those tracks. I mean, I wish it reminds me a little bit more of like bachata, because bachata's still good, but you only have like the same 3 or 4 guys coming out with tunes all the time. Prince Royce, Romeo. It's like nobody wants to hear the other tunes that are in between. So it's like I find myself, if I'm doing bachata sets somewhere, I'm playing like 5 or 6 of the same artists in a 20-minute set or something like that, because those are the songs that are landing with people. The same thing with reggaeton now, but thanks for bringing that up, because that was one of the things that when we're at PM, we had the basement room over there that was strictly reggaeton. There was nothing else going on down there. And
nobody else was playing it in Chicago. We were it.
Yeah, nobody was really doing it. And it's like, it forced my hand to kind of get into it. And then I loved it. And it from a technical side, there wasn't a lot of remixes of that shit. So for somebody who wants to mix stuff, I really had to dig deep to figure out the tunes that would go together. And it was a challenge. So me and Eclipse, we would run that basement from 10 to 5, and it would be
there was somebody else too. There was one more person that was down there. George was down there too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he would go down there occasionally. But that was didn't George do more of what was that restaurant that we had over there that had
Rancho Luna?
Rancho Luna.
Rancho Luna. Yeah, yeah.
We were doing some of that over there too, but it was mainly, if I remember correctly, it was me and Eclipse. We were running that basement
Yep.
from 10 to 5
Yep.
a.m. and it was like steamy, hot sweat dripping from the ceiling and the walls. I mean, it smelled like ass at the end of the night. That's what it was. But we played some of the best reggaeton of the time down there that wasn't even making the radio. And that's what I loved about it. So again, polar opposite, coming from that and then going in, kind of getting pigeonholed at 720, that left a little bit of it left a big bad taste in my mouth.
Well, I think that was the difference between 720 and, and when I talk to Caesar, we'll talk about that. I'll talk to Edgar about that. I think that was the difference between commercial and true underground per se. And let's be honest with you, in the basement, underground, hence, that was, and I think that also happens with house music as well, because house music becomes a little bit underground because because you play the deep, dirty, as they call it, stuff. That's really like you can phase it out and stuff like that. I see that happen also in the tropical market, and I say tropical in the salsa market because I tend, like, for instance, I'm doing my mixes, right? And everybody's like, hey, when are you going to play Eddie Santiago? When do you play Hector Lavoe? When do you play stuff? And how many times can you hear, and I get it from both ends. How many times can you play, Eddie Santiago and all, and they're great artists and nothing, but at the same time, there's so much music out there. That's why I play the music from Peru, music in Italy, and, and hence the music. Going back to what we were talking about, the reggaeton, I think the coolest point about it for me.
You need to stop right here, and I don't mean to cut you off. For those of you that are watching and have never heard this guy playing that, whether it be merengue or reggaeton, Prieto doesn't really speak Spanish. So for him to be dropping on the huepas and crazy shit, it was like the first, I never knew that, man, until I read your CD labels that had all the jacked up pronunciations of what you thought it should be named. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, what's up with this dude? And you're like, I don't speak Spanish, dude. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? I just heard you drop this whole merengue set and it was like badass. And you're like, huh? So,
true story.
Especially your Spanish rock.
So, no.
Oye mi Omar instead of Oye mi amor. I'll never forget that one.
That was classic. Alex Perez never let me forget about it.
Oh man, good times.
We had so many stories, but I mean, what I really like about like the reggaeton, and I think what's helped this industry, especially the reggaeton industry, and there's a visual aspect of it. It isn't just the sound anymore. Now we got Karen G, Becky G, beautiful, and I gotta honestly say that I remember when I first heard reggaeton. Let's be honest with you. It was Ivy Queen, Baby Western Gringo, Cheka, Tego Calderon, and it was raunchy. It was really raunchy. And then all of a sudden, here comes Daddy Yankee, good-looking guy. All of a sudden, the girls are like, "Oh my God, he's gorgeous," and blah blah blah. Then Wisin Yandel, and then all of a sudden, here comes good-looking people doing, like a visual aspect and videos and stuff like that. And there was a lot of work behind the production and stuff like that. And I think that's also helped the reggaeton movement today. Even like Bad Bunny, like you said, love him or hate him, but he's unfortunately, fortunate for him, he's number one at this point because you know what, he does the shock value, and a perfect example of a shock value is Lady Gaga. She even said it herself. What, I was just she was always been a good singer, but then one of her marketing people say, hey, you gotta have some shock value in this industry to make it, because you gotta stand out. Right. And I think that's also a big part of it. We got about 4 minutes left to which got in closing with you. What do you think? What's your next step for you?
Man, just keep doing my mobile business, man. You know, waiting for this thing to open up, hoping everybody stays safe. You know, and just, I'd be lying if I say I wasn't concerned about when they do open it up, about what's going to happen there. But, you know, there's only one way to find out. But yeah, I mean, for me, the mobile business is kind of my bread and butter when it comes to DJing on the side. I've got 2 or 3 other, you know, side hustles in addition to my day gig. And you know,
What do
I'm a
you
dad
do?
too.
Don't you work at Guitar Center, or did work at
No,
Guitar?
man, that was a long time ago. That was a long.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
because it's still on your Facebook, Guitar Center.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I still get people that call me from there. As a matter of fact, it's been like 15 years. So customers still call
Wow.
me. So, but no, I'm doing a couple different things, man. You know, that are not related to music. I'm looking into the mortgage loan industry, just trying to, you know,
Okay.
broaden my horizons. You know, just I've always wanted to have one of these jobs where I don't need to report to anybody, and so that's kind of where my direction is heading. But, you know, the
Yeah.
downtime that we've had recently has been, you know, despite the circumstances, great, because I was able to kind of retune the studio, get a bunch of things updated, finally get everything wired the way I needed it to be. Now, you know, I've kind of been slowly getting in as time allows, getting back into production. So that's, I think for me, naturally, I mean, outside of the mobile stuff, which I'm slowing down as well, because I mean, we don't need to do it anymore. We do it because we love to do it, and our relationship with our clients is very deep. So if somebody is, you know, called us for, you know, 5 or 6 gigs, and they're like, hey, you know, we got to have you guys again. Yeah, I'm going to do their party, right?
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
but
Exactly.
we kind of got into a position where we could pick and choose clients. So that's a blessed position to be in right now. So yeah, probably just getting back into the studio for me, actually getting in, doing some production, and you know, taking it to the next step is kind of where my head's always been at, but I've never really had the time to do it.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess, you know, and you mentioned about production, music production. That's what you're gonna. So what kind of music are you looking to do as far as production wise?
Man, it's always going to be something for on the floor. You know, that's just my roots. So it's either going to be some kind of like new disco, or you know, either some tech house or something like that. I've always liked the stuff that has elements of the old school that we grew up listening to, just revamped and updated. You know, so
All right.
that's.
I look forward to hearing all that, and I guess everybody else. Guys, so the hour was quick, right? That was pretty
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah, it was pretty fast, man.
Yeah, that's
I appreciate you doing this. First of all, you know, I didn't say it earlier, but yeah, thanks for doing this. This is definitely you know, something unique. Hopefully, you know, we keep on going with it.
Yeah, guys, thank you very much. Thank you, Marshall.
Yeah. Hey,
DJ
thanks for
Sombra,
watching, guys.
you know,
Appreciate it.
and don't forget, we do this tomorrow. It's the same day, 8 o'clock. We're going to be doing it, and I
Yeah.
appreciate you guys, and we're going to continue. And that's
Chicago
it for.
DJ Union on Facebook. Chicago DJ Union. If you guys are DJs watching, make sure you come over if you're not a part of the page already.
Cool. Thank you,
All
John.
right.
All right.
All right, man.
Thank you,
Take it easy,
Marshall.
brother.